God's beauty is shown in our ugliest moments. And that's what I call a masterpiece. Your next move be your best move on God. That's for real like the Neptunes on God. No ego, cause I gotta say God like the Migos on God. It's the best move if you ain't talking about that. God bless you on God. Like an ego, cause I gotta say God like the Migos. You've been giving it your all. You've been reaching for the stars in the storm. You can tell me what it feels. Famalam, what up, what up, what up, what up? God Made Dirt, the podcast. We in the house. Man, you know the podcast where we have real conversations behind the curtain of religion. The stuff that the church may be too churchy, too Bible thumpish, too judgmental, to talk about. And the world may be a little too extreme, right? Or maybe too embarrassed. That's the stuff that we talk about. We get into it right here on this show. And it's with me, your boy Marcel B, the MC. We got the First Lady BK in the house, Miss B Adored herself. What up, Ma? What up? What up?
Hey,
Man, and then we got we got to bring up the land ministry every week, man. Expand your horizons. Bible says he give you lands, you did. And if you're gonna get some lands, you might as well tap in with LaShield. You know what I'm saying? Ventura County's own. What up?
hey everyone.
And last but not least, but definitely the chief geek himself, Tarmel, Mr.
What up?
A.
What
You know
up?
what I'm saying?
What up?
The code breaker, man. And shout out to the homie Money Mike, cigar aficionado, drummer extraordinaire. He's actually at band practice, band rehearsal right now. You know what I'm saying? Because you got to get ready for this Sunday at church. Great Faith Church, shameless plug. That's just a preview because we're going to get all the rest later. But, man, how y'all doing, man? What's good with the crew? Lachelle, what's up with your way? What's going on in Cali for you?
Cali is beautiful. This past weekend, I went to an exclusive wine tasting hosted by my business networking group, and it was phenomenal. We had a really good time.
That's dope, man. Every time so that hoodie reminds me, if you haven't seen that episode where we went backstage with Lachelle and she sent us on, let us go on a trip with her to Jamaica. That's, so when I see that hoodie, man, it reminds me of that trip. That's dope. BK, what's up with you over there, man? You said you was packing and you getting ready, you planning, you working out. What's up?
Yes, I'm working out, trying to get my fitness together, trying to look cute in a wedding dress, and packing. A lot of packing. It's not only my place, it's his place, and I don't like moving, but gotta do it.
Man, it's like you doing 2 a days, man. If you working out and moving and packing boxes, sheesh, boy, your hammies is sore right now. You understand? Chief Geek, what up, bro? What's up in Michigan for you, man? What's going on up there, bro?
Man, so right now we're doing a program called Grow Detroit Young Talent at the studio. So that's been keeping us busy with the kids up here, man, for the summer. So a lot of fun right now. So
fire, man. And so if I know y'all don't know, but a few years ago, Tarmel actually wrote a family prayer for both our families to say. We say it with our children. It's probably been we probably need to break it back out, bro. But there's a line in there that about our children's children, and legacy. So hearing you pouring into the youth, man, is still legacy. Doesn't have to be blood lineage. It could be just those that you pour into generations to come. So when you said that, that's what made me think of that, man. That's super dope.
What's dope is I actually bring my son, so he actually is like tapping in and watching the whole process. So
fire, man. Fire. True legacy, man.
Yep.
So, man, my way. Man, your boy going to Paris this week, man. You know what I'm saying? And that's like, man, I'm gonna share my testimony of the path to this trip to Paris when I get back. Because it's been an interesting one, and God get the glory for it for sure. I'm gonna share that story when I get back. I'm gonna get plenty of footage and share it with y'all. But I'm excited, man. Paris is on my wife's bucket list, which it made it to my bucket list because of that. She had such a passion for wanting to go, and Paris is one of those places. that you just, you got to check out. Most romantic city in the world. And what better way than to spend it with my queen, you dig? So we gonna be there for a week, and I'm just excited. But as you go on vacation, there are folks that just want to take up all your time and to make sure that you get some stuff done before you go. So my week has been packed. Past couple weeks have been super packed, but I'm excited and I'm ready to roll out, and it's gonna be a great time. Y'all know how I say it. We ain't gonna keep the people long, but we gonna keep them strong, man. So we gonna hop right in. In this episode, we're talking about church hurt. It's a phrase that you really hear amongst the Christian community, right? And it, it's unfortunately is frequent, right? So who will we be to not address church hurt, right? I would, usually I like to provide a definition when we introduce a lot of these kingdom phrases or church phrases, right? But with my first question, I actually want you guys to provide your own definition, right? So my first question to y'all, Lachelle, I want you to answer is, what is church hurt to you, and have you ever experienced church hurt?
I had a feeling I was gonna be first, and I won't be first. But church hurt, I think my idea of is when you're hurt by people in the church. To keep it simple. And I have not experienced it before.
Never, huh?
Never experienced it. So I think my opinion about it is very unique, because I don't really agree with the coin term. I think people hurt people, and hurt people hurt people. And my experience of seeing people be hurt by the church or hearing about it is just like, it's usually a one or two people that have, said something or did something to this other person. And now, because it was those one or two people in the church, the whole church gets blamed for it. So I don't necessarily agree with the way that this has been coined, because you're persecuting a group of people for the sins of a couple when you decide to leave a church because your church hurt.
Wow, that's pretty dope. BK, church hurt for you. What does it mean, and have you ever experienced it?
Church hurt to me is when you have those in authority positions of a church that do something to hurt you, not necessarily other, people that go along with the church, but those that are in leadership that actually do something that hurts you. And yeah, I actually have experienced it. And it eventually ended up having me withdraw from the church. And ultimately, I ended up moving. And so I left the church because I moved locations. But I had a feeling I was going to be on my way out of that church anyway. And to make matters worse, the pastors are my cousins. So that was for me. They did before I left. I made it known that I had this hurt because the incident happened where my mother had passed away. And when you have a death that is so close to you, you expect someone from your church or your church period to not only lift you up in prayer, but to check on you, see if you're okay, if there's anything that you need. And really, through my hurt, it helped them develop that sector. They wanted me to initially man that sector. Like if somebody passes away or if somebody goes into the hospital, I would, initially get people from the church together to either prepare food or whatever, go to check on the family or go to check on this member. But by that point, it was like, I shouldn't have to be the one to tell you to do this. Like, you're in leadership. This should already been done. But I passed along the information and told them how I felt and how I felt this should have already been implemented, that they should do that going forward. But I ended up withdrawing from the church. And that was also just part of my grief and everything. It wasn't anything that I blamed on the church in totality, but for those people who are in leadership of that church, I felt like they should have known better.
Wow. I want to dive into that in a second. Chief Geek, man, what about you? What is church hurt to you, man? And have you ever experienced it?
So I actually agree. It's usually done by people in power, people that you trust. So the church hurt thing, at least in my opinion, is because you're so vulnerable. So once you open yourself spiritually, you become vulnerable, and then basically, when somebody in a position of power hurts that, it feels just like the world. It feels like everybody else that hurts you, and so it destroys you. Especially when you open, you fall in love. It's just like being hurt in a relationship. You fall in love, you open. You know what I'm saying? And once that get compromised, whether you was right or wrong about it, it hurt. And church hurt is the church part is powerful because it's not really the people, like BK said. It's more like the governing bodies or the people you trusted the most, right? And so it taint the whole experience for you. So I have been in that position before. Mine was more, I served in a role of like media director, and the pastor kind of wanted me to take on more of a leadership position next to him, and I didn't want it. I wanted to be what I know who I am. The reason why we all on the podcast now, like, this is me, right? And I'm telling him, like, yo, I'm not here for nothing else but my gift. And he was persistent about moving me up, and he even put somebody in my spot. And so when he did that, it pissed me off. It actually hurt me because I worked so hard on building the team and all that. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, that hurt. But the thing about it is, back to Lachelle's point, is when you realize what you're doing it for and who you're there to serve, that's how I guess we can get to, like, how to prevent it. But at the end of the day, these are just people. You know what I mean? These are just people, and they're gonna make mistakes. And so, a lot of us get hurt when we still babes and we young because we don't understand that yet. We still learning that. So
For sure. No doubt, man. So I looked up the definition just to get an official, right? Because at first it was like church hurt. Yeah, I got that figured out. But then I started thinking in all the different ways, right? And so one of the definitions I found is simply the pain sometimes inflicted by religious institutions, right? More dressed up definition of what Lachelle said. When you're hurt by the church, that's what church hurt is, right? But I think to me it has different forms, right? And I don't know if you guys have seen what's happened with Creflo Dollar, but Creflo Dollar basically went before his congregation to admit that he was teaching tithe from the wrong principle. He was teaching it from a required standpoint, and basically you are outside of the law if you're not tithing. When the Bible doesn't say that at all. In fact, Jesus took us from under the law when he came. And it, tithe was something else, but it doesn't mean so tithing that has a benefit to it is not a requirement, but it has a benefit to it. But Creflo was teaching it as a requirement, and so he recanted that and asked for forgiveness. He basically repented in front of the church. But I would assume that the folks in his church felt hurt by the way that he taught them, right? Because that creates a pressure. When you tell somebody that you trust spiritually with your spiritual direction and where you're going, if they're teaching you in an incorrect way, I could see some people feeling some church hurt from that, right? So in that way, it's somebody, in a position of power, but it's in misleading of information, right? And teaching. My particular church hurt situation was, I was kind of pulled in to assist with social media. I came up with like a 30-page plan for it, and it was like never used, right? No feedback on it. And so it was like, why did you ask me to assist, but then you didn't really want my help, right? So it was almost like a waste of time. That's how it felt. You know what I'm saying? And this was very early in me having a church home and not understanding there's inner workings. And Tarmel and I have been talking about this lately. There are inner workings of church. You know, there is a spiritual side, but there's a business side. And I didn't quite understand the business side of the inner workings of the church at the time. You know what I'm saying? So, but again, again, it's a different form. You know, that's a totally different church hurt than somebody misleading me or somebody taking advantage of me. I think it just can have different forms as far as the definition. But at the end of the day, I think it's anytime you are hurt by the church. So next question for y'all. So um, does church hurt fall on the person that's hurt, or does it fall on the church? You know, who's to blame for the church hurt? Tarmel, why don't you go ahead and let us know, like, who you think is at fault when it comes to church hurt?
So it's definitely it's twofold. If we look at people, they're gonna disappoint us. That's it. That's period. There's no perfect church. If it was perfect, it stopped being perfect the moment you and I walk through the door. Right? Like that's just a true statement. People gonna make mistakes. But as the person, if you don't open up about what you experience, you know, like maybe talk to your pastor. Like in your case, bro, you could have sat down with him and said, hey, man, I went through all these really to try to give you my best foot forward, and no response.
Yeah.
That hurt me. You know, so if you don't do that, then that's your fault, right? But if you do that and your feelings don't matter, then maybe it ain't the right place for you, right? Because everybody deserves an opportunity to you know, to say how you feel, but it's important to share if something offended you.
Yep. BK, what you thinking? Who's at fault? Because I really like that, Tarmel, like ownership. That was accountability. You know what I'm saying? But BK, who's at fault on church hurt? You know, who's to blame on that?
Because when I believe that the church hurt stems from a lack of communication or proper communication or anything like that from leadership, I'm kind of like with Tarmel. It falls on both people. I feel like if you felt like you were hurt from your church and you kept it to yourself, you're choosing to hold an offense to your heart. You're choosing to harden your heart to the situation. Whereas if you could have just spoke up, you can at least clear that out and then see where you lie in that situation, whether or not you're going to stay, you're growing in that experience, or has God sought it to where it's like, okay, you've learned all that you can learn here, and it's time for you to move on elsewhere because I have something more for you to do at a different church. So it's a flip of a coin, really. But I think both parties take some accountability because, I mean, when you're talking about a church, you're talking about your spiritual self, you know, and that is a very vulnerable place. And for you to be an authority of that, like of that spiritual guidance for a soul, somebody, you know, ultimate soul of a person, it's like you need to take more care. You can't just put this all on business and make your own decisions, not thinking about this person's soul and doing it. So it's a hard toss.
No doubt. I like that. I like the fact that, you know, vulnerability, man, so huge. I think a lot of times you know, it can result in pain when you put yourself in a vulnerable state, but it's inevitable sometimes. Lachelle, I know you've never experienced church hurt before, but from a, you know, just from an observational standpoint, you know, who do you believe is at fault when it comes to church hurt?
You know, it's really hard for me to answer this question because I'm a tough chick, and I blame my granny for that. Because when I was really young, she told me, "Can't nobody hurt you but you." So if you allow people the capacity to be able to puncture through the thickness of your skin, then that's a you problem. However, the whole concept of church hurt is really difficult for me because I understand that God takes what's on the outside and uses that to expose what's on the inside. So when a person is hurt by the church and the person who's in the church doing the hurting, that's exposing something within both of those two people that needs to be filled by God. And that's just the way that I see it. So like BK said, and like Tormel said, that leads to an accountability, but on both persons' behalf, because especially if like with Tormel and BK's situation, they were both close to the people in authority who, who hurt them. But there are some people who get church hurt that are not close to people in authority, or the people who hurt them in the church are not even authority figures. So that's really an opportunity to say, okay, what healing, like, why did what that person say or do affect me so much that it makes me want to turn away from the whole church, as and walk away from that church as a whole. So I think that's a 2-point situation where there's work to be done on both sides.
That's dope too. I really like that. I mean, more accountability, man, and effective communication. I love that. Can't nobody hurt you but you. That sounds like something said in Detroit a whole lot. You know what I'm saying, that you hear growing up.
My granny just didn't play. She's tough as nails.
I love it, man. I love it because it's perspective. For me, I do feel like there's ownership on both sides. I'll tell you how I handled my church hurt. So for me, it was more on my side, and I had an expectation that I was supposed to serve in the church in a certain capacity, and my mind was closed off on any other way. And God dealt with me and truly showed me to have a servant's heart is however the church needs you, right? Like, perfect example, this Sunday. So we celebrate our church anniversary this coming Sunday. And the pastor was like, hey, can I just get a few people to help move the chairs because we got to wax the floors for the anniversary? I volunteered, no problem, because that's how far I've come, where whatever he need me to do for the church, I'll do it, in whatever capacity he needs me in, right? That's so it for me, I changed the perspective. God helped me change my heart and approach on helping, so I don't have a preconceived expectation on how I'm supposed to help the church, right? Is wherever there's a leak that I'm needed to close or to patch up, that's where I'll serve. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I dealt with my church hurt. But I do want to ask y'all something and usually, just so the audience know, I send everybody these questions before we get it, because we got to come before y'all prepared, man. We can, this show is, we put thought into it. But I didn't.
Wait, hold on. So because you do all the question asking, I'm gonna ask you a question.
Let's go.
Make sure I understand this.
Love it.
So basically, what he did was he gave you conviction about your church hurt, and then showed you where you were wrong for even experiencing that weakness. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Okay.
That's exactly what happened, because like, in addition to not using the social media plan, I got put on the cameras, like, to work the cameras. Yeah. And I'm like, cameras, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was almost, and I'll be honest, I almost felt like, yo, you're not using me the way I should be used. That's how I felt. It was like, you're not using me how I'm supposed to be used. Like, you're misusing me. And I'm telling you, man, God, and the way he did it was through the story of Mary and her sister. Right. It was, one washed his feet. One was caught up in the details, but one washed his feet. You get what I'm saying? And that story there was like the turnaround for me as far as having a servant's heart. And so, and then my pastor would go on to testify about how he did everything from, cleaned the parking lot up to took the trash out. And it was stuff like that. And me knowing that my pastor's my pattern, he's my pattern. He didn't even do that to correct me. He didn't say, well, Marcy, like you said, I never brought it up to him, but he wasn't correcting me. He was just sharing his own testimony. But in hearing his testimony, it was like, oh, wait, yeah, however you need me, and ever since then, that I took that not only in, church, I took that however somebody needs me. I took that throughout the rest of my life in the other areas. However my wife needs me, not just as a computer guy or a brainiac, or however my best friend needs me, however my family needs me. That was a principle that spread throughout the rest of my life.
And you know what that leads back to? However God wants to use you.
Yep.
Because
Exactly.
we think he want to use us one way, and then it turned out to be a whole different way,
Yep.
Like, God forbid he tell you leave everything and go travel to the middle of nowhere and preach the gospel, right? Like,
Right.
you gonna be like,
Right.
these people might kill me. They don't
Yep.
they don't want foreigners in their land. They might kill me going there talking about you, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
it's a test of obedience, but like I said, it reveals something inside of you.
It does. It does. And that's what was going to be my next question, everything. I need y'all to look into y'all camera and speak to that person dealing with church hurt right now, right? I need y'all each to give them one thing they could do to help them get over the church hurt that they're dealing with right now. What's the one thing that you can give them? BK, what's your one thing? Go ahead.
Forgive them. Just forgive them, let it go, because they know not what they do. And
Fire.
you talk it over with God and move forward.
Fire.
Love that, BK. Love it.
Me too. Okay, since you love it so much, Lachelle, what's yours? One thing, what you got?
I'm gonna give you two
things.
Two things.
Okay.
Meditate on the word and reflect. And the answer, he'll give you the answer. It'll come to you. But go to him for the answer. And that requires meditation and reflection.
Love it. Meditate, reflect, forgive. Tarmel, man, what you got?
Man, I'm rocking with BK on this one, man. The end of the day, it's you gotta forgive. You gotta forgive. That's where it's at. I mean, she said it. You just gotta release the situation because they don't know. I'm from a different school of thought where he formed me in my mother's womb, and I've been in tune with that from the jump. So I know what it is I'm here to do. And so when somebody, I don't care who it is or what it is, try to change that, I got to stand fast. Feel me? So they don't know that. They don't know how fierce they do now. Everybody do now. But, then, you know what I'm saying? They just don't know. So forgive them. That's it. Forgive them. Show them love. You'll feel free. The only thing I would add is see if you can tell them how they made you feel and don't harbor it, because that's what allowed it to fester and grow out of control for sure. You know what I'm saying? But definitely forgiveness is the answer.
I love that. I love that too. I like to take notes. Y'all heard how I dealt with it. I looked in, not out. I simply looked in, not out. And, now that we're talking about it, I think church hurt is just hurt that you're feeling at church, but you may have experienced that same hurt somewhere else in your life. And maybe you're not realizing that. And maybe you just still haven't figured out a way how to deal with that type of hurt. And, I think that's what it was for me. A lot of times I have a set expectation or perceived notion for how folks need me, or at least I used to. And that it went from, nah, just listen. I work with an older guy. He used to tell me every day, Marcel, you just got to wake up and play to the music for the day, and that music can change. But if you got a closed ear for one genre every day, you're going to miss it. You're going to totally miss it. So, just be open, man.
Can I add some? Can I add some just to like deepen the perspective here?
Oh yeah.
Because I think the stimulus, the part of the root of church hurt is that like you expect that you're gonna go to church and like these people are gonna be perfect, right? But like, can we also add the fact that wicked spirits and demonic spirits are in church too? So
yes.
Like, and God, the Holy Spirit led Jesus into the wilderness to be tested, and that church could be your test too.
Yes, I love that. Like, just because you walk through the doors of a church does not mean you are on a different planet or in a different universe or dimension. You are still you're in a place, right? Now it's a great place and it should be a safe haven, right? But it's a place. So to be naive is not the best way to go, man.
I mean, I'm at a church where deliverance is happening, right? And I have not experienced anything like this in my entire life. And so I'm like, the fact that these demons even walking into this church is like
Yep. Hey, demons go. So they know demons go to church too. Okay, they go to church.
They know the word better than a lot of us.
They do. That's
I know they know the word better than me.
That's the only way they can get you. So, man, before we go into this last question, man, Tarmel has a podcast called The Code, y'all. The Code. Make sure y'all tap in with The Code, man. Man. One of his episodes is like non-stop jewels, man. That's the episode with Kwame Kilpatrick. He has another episode with Ajane Evans that's super dope as well. Man, without further ado, let's just check out a little snippet from The Code, man. Let's check that out before we get into this next question.
Welcome to The Code, man, where we vibrating at a creator's frequency. And today we're talking about fear. It's a necessary evil. If you ain't feeling fear, anxiety, butterflies, you ain't outside your comfort zone, which means you ain't growing. And anything ain't growing is dead. So look, challenge yourself. Every moment that you can put that weight on the bar or walk into a room that makes you feel uncomfortable and experience that growth, challenge yourself to do that, because I've never experienced a day where I felt butterflies or anxiety at the beginning and didn't feel more successful by the end of it. Visualize yourself finishing that moment, finishing that day, and we can do it together on The Code, baby. I'm T, the Chief Geek. Let's do it.
And there you have it, The Code with Tarmel, the geek, the Chief Geek, the Code Breaker. Bro,
yo,
first off, man, what made you do The Code? What made you come up with The Code, man? What made you do that?
So, to be honest, a lot of people say I remind them of Diddy, and I remind myself of Diddy with this one. But I got this whole podcast studio, and I got sick of people just not doing it the way they need to do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just got sick of waiting on people, all that. Like, that's how he made an album that I think sold 17 million.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But like, at the end of the day, like, you just kind of get sick of trying to explain it to people. You just got to show them. And so I'm like, all right. Even the questions that were being asked, I was like, man, I kind of want to ask, deeper questions behind these brilliant minds on what make them tick. You know what I'm saying? Like, what make them do what they do. And then this was the icing on the cake. This is how I knew I had to do it. So we would be around like these important people. And, I would send other people to interview them, and they was like, nah, I want to talk to you. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, a boss want to talk to a boss.
Right.
They would almost take it as an insult that I was sending like my interview cats to interview them. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, all right, cool. All right, this ain't nothing to me. Let's do it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so that's kind of how it formed. It was like, all right, when we get in these spaces where it's got to happen now, who gonna do it? You know what I'm saying? And so I'm already there, so I just had to get in that form. So
that's fire, bro. So it's like CEO talk, man. Boss, like you said, boss talk.
Yeah.
So tell the people how they can catch it, man. How can they tap in and catch The Code, man?
I mean. So first of all, you can subscribe on our landing page is thecodepod.com. So the code CODE pod.com.
Sweet.
You hop in that, and you can subscribe. But to watch it, we're on YouTube, and we're on all the platforms where you get your podcast from audio perspective as well.
Sweet.
So we're everywhere. Apple. Come on, man. You the publishing engineer, man. Where are we at, man? We everywhere.
Right. Just so y'all know, I do some work behind the scenes on The Code, but my brother is killing it. But we on all of them. We on Deezer. We on Google, Amazon, you know, we
Spotify.
Spotify, we on
Look,
all of them, man.
Don't let him fool you, man. It ain't nothing I'm doing that he ain't doing with me, for real. Except letting people off the hook for church hurt.
Facts. Man, but yeah, make sure y'all tap in with the code. So look, man, let's hop into this last question that I got for y'all, man. And this may be a good one, because again, man, I just want to provide, you know, just the overview of GMD. We are truly, this isn't a podcast strictly for believers or Christian folks. This is for everybody, people who are trying to just navigate that part of their life. You know what I'm saying? So that's why we're talking about church hurt. Church hurt. We've seen people leave church and never even, you know, go back to God because of church hurt. Mm-hmm. And so we want to eliminate people that are dealing with that. That we want to eliminate that thought, that movement, you know what I'm saying, and try to help heal people dealing with church hurt. So this is a question that may go through their mind that I got for you, Tarmel. Do you think church hurt may indicate that you're at the wrong church?
Not necessarily. Again, man, this spiritual relationship is a vulnerable one. And you got to remember that in order for you to receive at the highest level, you got to be vulnerable. You got to open yourself up. And when you do that, you're at risk. And like Lachelle said earlier, this could be an indication of the way you handle hurt in general. And so you might want to check yourself on that and ask yourself, like, yo, am I shutting down on people around me? Like, did I just shut down on my wife because she stepped on my toe?
Good
you know what I'm saying? Like, is that the kind of person you are in vulnerable spaces? And so it might not be the church. Again, the fact that it did hurt you could mean that a conversation needs to happen. And then that's when you get into the decision-making process. You can't be in a decision-making process if the other side don't know how you feel. Right now, you're just stuck with these emotions. So it could be the end of a season, or it could just mean that you need growth in that particular area.
Love it.
That's how I feel.
Love that. Lachelle, you think church hurt indicates? I kind of think I kind of know what your answer gonna be.
What's my answer gonna be?
No, I'm gonna let you answer it. But do you think church hurt indicates that you're at the wrong church?
The only thing that indicates to me that I'm at the wrong church is when my inner man is starving. And I can't even say that's always accurate, because God may want you to do something there, even if your inner man is starving. He may still have an assignment there. So I can't even say that's always accurate. However, I do believe that if God wants you to stay in a particular place, he's going to find a way for your inner man to get fed. And that's my answer.
Love that. BK, what up?
I think it could be. Doesn't necessarily mean that it is. But if you don't address that issue that you have, or whatever that hiccup is, you won't know. So I wouldn't suggest to anybody to just be hasty because you got your feelings hurt to run off. But if after you communicate and you're good with yourself in that communication and you've put it on the table, if it's time for you to leave, God will make it clear that it's time for you to go. It's just like Lachelle said, you're either not going to be fed, or he's going to push you or pull you along. If you start going to church and it seems like a foreign language to you and you don't understand what's going on, you may need to leave and go to a different church. You may have learned everything that you can learn there. But I won't say, like, if you just go and it's one Sunday, you're just not getting fed. Like, no, it'll be consistent. It'll be consecutive. It'll be clear that it's time for you to leave. Yep. Don't just leave because you got your feelings hurt.
Love that. So I got two things on that. First thing is, the flesh is an unwilling participant in the kingdom of God. And flesh is not just flesh and bones, skin, nose, ears, and eyes, and all that. Not just that. The flesh is the soul making decisions without the kingdom. right? Without the word of God. That's what the flesh is, right? And the soul is your mind, your will, your intellect, your emotions, your imagination. That's what makes up your soul, right? So to make a decision based on hurt, I'm never for, not based on hurt. But it also says in the Bible that in all things get an understanding, right? This is in and out of church. You would never fall for something in church that you would not fall for outside of church. You
That part.
cannot do that, right? Can't walk in and just be a zombie, and my mama call it boo boo the fool. You can't do that. Cannot do that just because you're in church. So you still got to use your instincts and your awareness even in church. But to make a decision, based on hurt, I don't think it's that. I love what Shell said is when the inner man is starving. When you're not getting fed spiritually, to me that's like the number one indicator. When you're not getting that word, when you're in a bind, right? A physical bind, broke, busted, disgusted, break up. You know what I'm saying? Homeless. When you're in a bind and you reach for a word spiritually that can transcend you physically and you're not getting it at the church you're at, that's a sign you're at the wrong church. That's no other way around it. Tarmel and I went to church at Detroit World Outreach for like 2-3 years straight because we didn't have a physical church to go to. That's the church we went to. And it wasn't even every Sunday. It was we turned on the word on YouTube and watched Bishop Ben Jabber. That's what we did because we knew at that time that was our father in the faith. That was our church home, So, you'll know when you're fed and when
I gotta add something though, man. So, it's a lot of folks that, again, when they're in the spiritual space, they're in the emotional space. Everybody's not systematic. Now, Bishop Ben definitely taught us systematic. He had an engineering background, and so I understand systematic. But again, man, a lot of folks are very emotional when it comes to worshiping. That's 100%, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, you open. And so just giving them systematic, like, I'm sorry, like for me, Lachelle, you sound like you never got your heart broken, and now we're trying to tell people how to react to having your heart broken. Like, no, like we have to understand at the end of the day, like for these people that's in this spiritual space, when it is very emotional, very, bro. And so giving them tools to navigate it is probably, I guess that's better than just telling them, yo, you ain't supposed to. If you being emotional, then bro, like y'all got to help me out with this because right now it's like, yo, wait, it's not all systematic. I mean, this is an emotional journey for folks.
Oh, I wholeheartedly understand that.
Okay.
But there comes a time when you have to really set your emotions aside because emotions aren't fact. And a lot of times our emotions lead us down the wrong path.
Yep.
A lot of times.
Yep.
So I'm a big fan of like, hey, go ahead, cry about it. Get your 2 to 5 minute cry on. And then you get up and you put your big girl panties on and you deal with it, whatever you got to deal with it. So at some point, I don't think it's wise to let emotions run your life, run your decisions. I don't recall an emotional outcry to God from Moses when he was called. And when he had to do those things that he had to do and God spoke directly, talked to him, I think he had more of the fear of God than anything else. I think he was like, why is this bush burning?
A lot of people cried out. A lot of people cried out to God. You know what I mean? A lot of people, even when Jesus was like, man, I know what you sent me here for, but I don't want to do this. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of people cry out. You know what I'm saying? Like this is the space we supposed to be in as worshipers again. So it's understanding how, and I mean, you tough, and ain't nothing wrong with that. That's attached to your gift. It's necessary. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of people just don't. We talking to the people on this one, and it's like, yo, I can't. I wish it was that simple, but it ain't for folks. So
yeah.
Right.
Well, so here's another emotionally charged situation: a relationship, a romantic relationship.
Yep.
If the homie called me heated at his girl because she done did something,
Yep.
The first thing I'm gonna tell him is, hey man, the Jets got to cool. You know what I'm saying? Take a break from her. You can't say or do anything out of emotion. You know what I'm saying? So it's like the same thing. You know, emotions can be it can be high, but at the end of the day, if I'm going to advise you, the first thing I'm gonna do is tell you to try to bring the emotion down as best as you can, and that may take some time. You know, like this forgiveness that we say in the church hurt. This is not an overnight thing. You may need a couple weeks away from the church. You know, you may need to take a break from church for a few weeks, because the relationship with God is outside of it. But even if you say you don't pray in that time, say you don't pray, just cool off. Just a natural, regular cool off. You know what I'm saying? And to be able to clear your mind and reassess. You know what I'm saying? But that's a great point that you bring up. Just meeting people where they are. You know, and
that's the point right there. Just trying to meet more folks where they at. You know.
Yeah, there's something I want to add to that too, because there's been, for me, I am more emotional with my relationship with God than I've ever been in an actual relationship with a person. Like, even when it comes to being in pain, I've screamed more at God than I've ever screamed at a man. And when you add the church into that mix, like it can cut deep. It can cut deep because you're expecting, when you go to church, to meet God there. And so it takes on a whole different level of vulnerability while you're there and amongst those people. Because not only is it a safe place for me to feel like I can worship and be with God, I'm expecting to see God there. I'm expecting to feel his presence, to get his word, and to have that protection that I know that he can provide for me. So sometimes you put that unrealistic expectation on a church. Because of the expectation, you know
or a leader.
God.
Right.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, man, so check this out, man. My pastor was just talking about this the other day. Many are the afflictions of the righteous. Does that stop at the church doors? You see what I'm saying? Does that mean no afflictions in the church?
No, I don't mean that. But I think so when you allow, and this is where we are talking about the leaders. You guys are talking more about the people.
I'm saying leaders too.
No, so when you allow somebody that to lead you in that way, they're intimate at that point, right? Because you're trusting them at a really high level. You get what I'm saying? And so that's where the stakes are higher, and that's where the immaturity comes in if you're not careful or you don't know any better, because sometimes you stop seeing God and you start seeing them.
Right. You can't separate
the two at that level of God.
And so you got to be taught that lesson, like, yo, like, you know what I mean? Like, yo, that's not your God. He's not your God. She's not your God. And so that's where that lesson of maturity comes in. And so that's that's a hard lesson to learn.
Yeah. That's super dope, man. I want to tell y'all, if y'all, if you do attend a church, definitely spend some time with the word and God, not just on Sundays. Get that relationship outside, because it'll help build, that, I don't want to say wall, but filter. It'll help build that filter. You know what I'm saying? And get with a crew of folks that's on the same wave. You dig? Like, that's crucial.
And be careful, especially in the Black churches, because we love our leaders. You know what I'm saying? Be careful of the place you put that man of God in. You know what I'm saying? Because you can put him up on that pedestal, but we're supposed to be serving the mission of the house, not the person that's standing in that spot, because they won't always be in it.
Right.
And if you like, yo, if this pastor leave, I'm out, then that, you know what I'm saying? You know where you at, you know what I mean? So you got to be careful with that. They can pass away tomorrow. What you gonna do? That actually happened to us. Feel me? And so it was like, oh man, what to do? The same day, Marcel ran into his brother, and now that's Marcel's pastor. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, God covered us. But bro, you when you serving in the ministry or you follow the ministry, you might have a dynamic man of God, but he's just a man.
Yep.
So
For sure, man. So, man, this of
Something I
course.
would like to add too
Okay.
is this time when you're trying to figure something out, sit in silence. Like, we're such a world that needs distraction, noises, everything. Sit in complete silence as much as possible. You getting in your car, you're going to a destination, you don't need to play music. You getting at home, if you're by yourself, you don't need to watch television. You don't need to talk. You don't need to think, you don't need to hum. It's like sometimes in that silence, God has a way of speaking to you and guiding you. And it's important that you take some time for yourself.
I love that.
Don't always feel it with noise.
I was going to a therapist for a little bit, and he definitely recommended at least 15 minutes of just silence every day. 15 minutes of just silence. And he wasn't even like preaching. He didn't even approach it from a spiritual standpoint. It was just natural. It's a natural 15 minutes every day of just silence. And man, it's super dope.
Can we just like cancel the term church hurt and replace it with something else?
like what? What you want to do?
Right.
I don't know. That person hurt me.
I'm saying you can't so you can't ask for a replacement. Then don't have no suggestions.
I just yeah, that's my suggestion. Like, be specific, because it's not the entire church. It's not everyone in the church.
Okay, so what is hurt in the church?
Hurt in the church. Yeah. I was hurt by a person at church or people at church.
Okay. So we gonna try to champion that hashtag no more church hurt.
No more church hurt.
Cancel church hurt.
Yeah, hashtag cancel church hurt. That's what it is. We got you, Lachelle. We're gonna hold you down. So y'all know I took notes, man. Y'all said so much dope stuff today. It was like, what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna list a lot of this stuff in the description. But one of my favorite is how y'all, recommended dealing with church hurt and meditate on the word. Love that, right? Anytime you take time out to just dive into the word. And let me say this too. Reading the Bible it's not like a college course syllabus, man. Just hop in, get a couple, I tend to just Google specific things, scriptures on marriage, scriptures on healing, scriptures on this. That's reading the Bible, so keep it simple. Reflect, love that as well. Forgive and effectively communicate. Effectively communicate. You know what I'm saying? Those are ways to deal with church hurt. If you're dealing with some church hurt, tap in with us, man. Hit up GMD. Y'all know we on IG, GMD podcast. You can leave a comment. Hit us up, man. Tap in with us. We definitely love to engage, help you get over that church hurt. We all attend some very good churches. And we talked about that. BK, get the people the info in y'all church. If you're looking for a church home or want to try somewhere different, check out BK's church. How can they do that, BK?
Well, if you're in the San Fernando Valley area, I would suggest y'all come down to Hope's House in Granada Hills. Come see Pastor Chuck and Dre. We would love to see y'all there. And you can catch them on hopeshouse.com. Nice.
Make sure y'all tap in. Lachelle, she let us know that she done found the church home and it's super dope.
I did. Okay.
How can they tap in?
I'm gonna start with my previous one because we were on part of the online ministry at Transformation Church, which is based in Tulsa, Oklahoma. You can find them on YouTube, Instagram. They're led by Pastor Mike Todd. The website is transformationchurch.us. And my current local church home in Simi Valley, California is Revelation LA. And you can find them everywhere as well. Revelation LA on YouTube, on Instagram. The website is revelationla.org.
Sweet. Love that, man. So I love that name. And I was telling y'all this earlier. I love the name or the word revelation because it's the aha moment, right? The revelation is the light bulb. You know what I'm saying? I love the word revelation. One of my favorite words.
And we get a lot of aha moments.
Love it.
A lot of them.
Love it. Man, if you are in the Central Florida area, Sanford Florida specifically, but we love to have you all over. Great Faith Church, Pastor Patrick and Pastor Angela Lagon, man. We celebrate our 15-year anniversary this coming Sunday. Tap in with us. Wednesdays is Great Life Today show. Wednesday nights at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. We turn up. We got turn up prayer on Thursdays at 7:30 p.m., which is super dope. And everyone's young just about at our church. It's super dope. It's a great atmosphere. We love to have you. It's diverse. Sundays is at 10:30 a.m. Tap in. We're streaming live on YouTube, streaming live on Facebook. Tap in with us on Instagram at Great Faith Church. Website is greatfaith.church. And there's an app on the phone for both Androids and iPhones. It's the GFC3 app. And if you get there early on Sundays around 10:20, you might catch your boy on that pre-show before church starts. That's right. I help get the show revved up, get the people ready for the show. Our amazing praise and worship team, our media team's dope, man. But again, it's really, any of our churches, man, tap in with them. We just want to make sure you have a home, somewhere you can get spiritually fed, and just navigate, and somewhere to refer to and just provide that, that foundation that you need. Me having a church home has made a world of a difference in my life from so many aspects. Connecting with other people my age, other married young Black couples, a great man of God. He's young. He's a great pattern. He's been married 33 years now. Being able to just serve somewhere, feel like you're connecting with purpose. And those are the things that generally, make up a great church experience. You know what I'm saying? So feel free to tap in with them. I'll make sure y'all get all the links in the description. Man, don't forget, we got all our personal brands. You know what I'm saying? Make sure you stream your boy on all platforms, Apple Music, Spotify. Check out the music. New music coming soon. I actually leaked a new song I'm thinking about dropping, man. It's called I Wonder. But you got Be Adored. BK, give them all your socials, man, before we out of here.
Wait, did we get to Mouse Church?
No, we didn't.
So shouts out to Movemental Ministries, man. All right. Shouts out to my boy, man, my main man, Kwame Kill, man. I'm with you, sir. Movemental Ministries, man. Check him out, all right?
For sure.
Okay.
All right. How can they tap in with you?
You can find Now Be Adored. You can find Be Adored on nowbeadored.com or Now Be Adored on IG, or you can find me at ima.goodthing on IG, or you can find my Sister Lock page or Lock Technician page at locks_she loves. I think that's it.
Sweet. Now, Lachelle, you doing all kind of stuff too. What up? How can you tap in?
You can find me on Instagram at Ventura County Life, or Facebook, Lachelle Stallings, or Mrs. Chosen with a Z on my personal Instagram page.
Sweet. Chief Geek.
Hey, man, Ambassador Studios. Wow.
There it is. Man. There it is, because he already gave y'all the code info. But Ambassador Studios and me, of course, at Marcel B_THEMC. And Money Mike's, I'm gonna make sure y'all get his in the description, because I can't just remember his off the top of my head. So we'll make sure y'all get that. Tap in with us next week, and y'all know how we do it. GMD, it's all on us.
We